Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast today. I'm Shelby Jo Long, host of the Genius Entrepreneur Podcast. And I love having these conversations on this podcast with geniuses that have created business out of their genius zone and what they have to offer the world. It's really exciting to talk to people that are living a life of living in their genius zone, which is what we all want to do. Things get easier. We don't have to work as hard because we're doing the things that we want to do. Today is no exception. I'm excited to hear more about Hailey Rowe's business. She runs this great marketing hub on Facebook that she's going to tell us about. So Hailey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, Shelby.
Excited that you're here to join us. Can you just give the audience an overview of who you are and the transformation that you bring to the world?
Yes. So I am a marketing and sales coach and consultant, and I'm also a LinkedIn lead gen service provider. So I basically, in a nutshell, help coaches and service providers get their message out there, be able to work with the clients that they want to work with, and feel confident about what they're offering. And I know for a fact that a lot of times people have an amazing craft or skill, or they get a certification of some kind, and they're very excited to share it and change lives. But when it comes to starting a business and taking on entrepreneurship, that requires a whole nother bucket of skills and having to put yourself out there. And a lot of times those really talented people who are great coaches or great consultants or whatever, they are like just scratching their heads when it comes to how do I start a business and market myself. And I used to work in business development and marketing for startups. I have my bachelor's in entrepreneurship. I've dabbled in starting my own businesses since I was 16. And I want to help take those amazing people and help them actually have careers helping people and changing lives. So that's what I do.
That's awesome. We work in very similar spaces, just helping people enter their genius idea into the marketplace. So tell us a little bit more. Let's back it up a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about your passion for entrepreneurship. It sounds like it's been a part of your life for a long time, and you just love being a part of startups. You're an entrepreneur yourself. Where did that come from?
Well, I grew up a performer. So I used to sing, I used to act. I was definitely better at singing than acting. Acting was not my jam eventually, but I tried it. And I found that I liked the autonomy of that. I liked being able to, and it taught me a lot. Like you have to deal with rejection. You have to put yourself out there in auditions. You have like 5 seconds to pitch yourself really in an audition. And then you never know if you made it or not. They don't call you and say you didn't get it. You only get called if you did. So it was kind of preparing me for entrepreneurship in a way. And I always knew I liked autonomy. Like I didn't like taking directions. I didn't like, I wanted to do things my way. And so naturally I got into personal development because I got into fitness, because I was a theater nerd and I realized I need to start like exercising. And so I started getting into fitness. And then that was my gateway into personal development kind of, and being like, ooh, this is kind of cool. And then naturally entrepreneurship was kind of like a big thing in the personal development world. I feel like a lot of the people who like that are entrepreneurs. And so it just kind of all became a part of my life. And I started, my very first business selling fitness DVDs when I was really young. And then I just kind of got some coaching certifications, went to college and got my business degree. And then I was like, well, I told myself I'm not ready yet to start my own business. I think a lot of people tell themselves like they need more XYZ before they start. And so for me, even though I had started businesses, it was always my side hustle. And after I graduated college, I was like, I don't think I'm ready to do this full time. And so I started working in business development and marketing for startups because I knew, number one, that they're fast paced. And number two, they gave me a lot of projects that I had to just figure out. And it was a good stretcher for me because I was just there. I was thrown in as like this college graduate. And yet I was doing things like, they were like, can you write the company manual? Can you like interview these people? We need to recruit 17 people. Like, it was just like, what? Like, sure, but I have no idea what I'm doing. And it was great though, because it taught me that nobody really has it all figured out and you just have to start and figure it out as you go. So then in 2017, entire team got let go because there was a bunch of delays and yada, yada. And that's when I was like, you know what? I am going to start my own business all in, I'm going to go all in on it. And there's never going to be a perfect time. And that's when I started what I do today.
There's just a few things I want to talk about. I love that you have a theater background and that we talk about. I also have a performance background, not a theater. I was a little debate nerd in college, but there's such a gift to being a part of that performance community because of it's the failure and the feedback and it's the instant impressions. It's all of those things that you talked about. We have to think about those things. And I feel in my own journey that has been such an important part of being an entrepreneur is being able to pivot and speak about what you do. And you have a quick pitch to make. And I mean, that's such an important skill that I didn't think of when I went through it. And what you were saying just made me think about those things, but I think it makes it's an important skill to have as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, especially with like, I talk to people who maybe don't have that background and they're so like, what? Like somebody didn't answer my email or somebody said no to me. And I'm like, of course you're going to have some no's. Of course, just because I grew up like that was expected. So I do think it gives you so many like byproduct skills that you don't even realize.
Yeah, absolutely. And the worker for the startup too. It's like, you definitely have the figure it out kind of attitude. And I think that's such an important part of being an entrepreneur too, because it helps you pivot and adapt and these new things come at you and you've got to shift it. And I think that's a really important piece to think about for sure.
Yeah.
I love that. So you've taken your expertise and transformed it into a business. What are you really passionate about? I mean, you're in the marketing space. What's your sweet spot?
Yeah. Well, I think what I'm passionate about is building relationships, relationship focused marketing and like collaborations, partnerships. Like that is really, especially the last year, that I would say that's been my most dominant thing that I've done for marketing and help my clients with. Just because I think that at the end of the day, we overcomplicate a lot of things. And as you know, as somebody also in marketing, things are always changing. Instagram, the algorithm, blah, blah, blah. And I think people overstress, overcomplicate, like get bogged down in these little tiny, minute details. When really at the end of the day, that quote about don't major in the minors. Like, I think that is something that I feel strongly about. Major in the timeless principles of sales and marketing. And that's really my jam. And that's what I like helping people with, and using their EQ, their emotional intelligence, to build relationships, to build a brand, to build a community. That is something that comes naturally to me. Like, I think sometimes I'll have like a client say like, well, what do I say to this email? Or like, what do I say in this situation? I'm just like, oh, well, duh, like da, 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 da. And I'll blurt something out and they're like, oh, like, I didn't think to word it that way. So I think just the natural human thing is something that I like to focus on.
I love, excuse me. I love that. And I think it's something that is, I've been teaching in the college level for a long time. It's something that people it's a skill that is so much more challenging, especially with this in our hand, the cell phones, that's how we communicate. We don't think about connecting with other people. So I think that's important. Yeah. Absolutely. So tell me about the type of clients that you typically work with.
Yeah. So I work with service providers primarily who are in the online space. So for example, I have 2 clients right now who have a course about how to supercharge your online course. So speaking to different types of learners. And I have a client who teaches people how to start a podcast. I have a client who's a life coach, a health coach. So usually they're helping make the world a better place through either coaching or consulting or like an online course. And typically my clients are a little bit type A, and they feel very overwhelmed by the whole business thing because, it's not a like, okay, step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. they want it to be like that. And I give them that, which they like, but they realize entrepreneurship is not like a normal job where here's your responsibilities. So I help them kind of navigate that and be able to market themselves and start with the low hanging fruit so they can get out there and start making more sales.
Absolutely. How much mindset stuff do you get into with your clients?
Well,
Yeah, I would imagine it's because business is humbling.
It is.
Out there is humbling. So how much mindset is involved in that?
I would say a decent amount. So I'm actually a certified life coach and behavioral change specialist. So naturally, I love that kind of stuff. And I think it's critical because just today I was talking to somebody and I was like, just doing the thing of being on the podcast or whatever, you could go do that right now in a heartbeat. But what's holding you back, she's like carrying this 300-pound sled behind her about how she looks and how her age is inappropriate for doing what she wants to do and blah, 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 blah. And so I do think the mindset makes a task so much harder when you have like all this extra baggage you're carrying around. So I do coach my clients sometimes on perfectionism or getting in their own way with overwhelm or I'm not good enough types of thoughts.
Absolutely. And especially when you're on video and you're getting your ideas out there, you're like, genius entrepreneur, getting your ideas into the world. Maybe they'll be criticized. I have dealt with that too. And I find that I'm not as good as I should be in that area, but I know that it's an important part of the job and it's an important part of entrepreneurship in general. So that's an important piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me what is coming, what is new for you? What should we be looking out for from you?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. I would say the main thing that I've been talking about lately is my Work Smart membership. And it's basically taking you through nailing an offer you can put out there. How do you put it out there? And making sure you're marketing smarter instead of what we call like dwelling in overwhelm, dwelling in the social media algorithms, needing to post all the time. I think people focus a lot of the time on the wrong things or just things that don't need as much of their attention. So that's kind of the main thing that I've been working on lately.
Yeah, that's great. And tell us a little bit more about your Facebook group and your Coach Inner Circle. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
So the free Marketing Hub Facebook group is for you if you want to just network with other entrepreneurs, you want to get business growth tips. I used to have and this is a lesson of the year. I used to have a very big Facebook group and it got hacked earlier this year. So I had to start anew with a new name. So the Marketing Hub is on Facebook. And then the Coach Inner Circle is that's my main program. That's for coaches A to Z of starting your business. And I have, and booking clients and having an offer and whatnot. So I have a framework called Grow Your Business the Fast Way, and it stands for followers, action, sales, time management, and transformation. And what I mean by that is I work with my clients on followers. So who do they want to serve? And in other words, what's their niche or niche, as some people say,
right.
And how do you reach them? What's your lead gen strategy and way you nurture them? And then from there, the action piece is how do you create content and an offer that's compelling enough that people want to take action and reach out? The sales piece is obviously how do you lead your discovery calls or your webinar or whatever it is that you choose as your sales tool? What is it that you're selling? What's the price of it? How do you coach through the common objections in your marketing? And then time management is what to focus on. So all my type A's who like that, like, all right, this week, here's the focus. And then the transformation is the two things. One, personal transformation. So going back to that mindset that you mentioned, a lot of times they got to face new fears or realize new things about themselves as they're growing as a business owner. And then the other part of transformation is making sure the point A to point B of their offer is really clear. They have something that differentiates them, like maybe their own framework, and getting those good testimonials they can use in their marketing.
Absolutely. Oh, I look forward to checking it out. And we'll make sure that your profiles and all that are in the show notes so people can find it.
Cool.
My last question, and you already kind of talked about that because you mentioned that it's important to just start. I think that's a good piece of advice for entrepreneurs. Do you have any other pieces of advice that you give to people that are thinking about starting a business and entering their genius into the marketplace? Any
Yeah.
good tips?
Yeah, I would say I think your ability and willingness to feel big feelings and be the willingness to stick it out until something works and refine something until it works and see it as data and not beat yourself up over it, the more successful you will be as an entrepreneur. I think some people are not willing to take rejection or, try that big thing or whatever, because they don't want to feel, the only thing they're afraid of is just the feelings associated with that. And feelings, we're already feeling them whether you like it or not. And so you might as well pick something that could have an upside instead of just, hiding. And yeah, maybe you feel safer and you're avoiding feelings maybe you don't want, but there's no growth to that or upside. So that's, I think, the biggest thing. I think the other thing is just like I'm a big fan of, like, one of my phrases is milk it. Like, so whatever you have in front of you right now, the connections you have, the past clients you have, the opportunities right in front of your face that you're ignoring, or you think you need some bigger thing or TikTok, or you need some new thing, I would say hold on and just like, how can we milk what you have right now in front of you? And then we can expand from there.
I love that. I love that. Don't go towards what is new and popular and sexy. Just do what you do well and do it better.
Yeah.
I think there's a I don't know, there's a tendency in entrepreneurs to move to the next thing very quickly. And when you do that, you lose something. So I think there's a magic in that for sure. What a great piece of advice. I think in starting, you just have to do it and you have to get your idea out there, and it's malleable. You got to mold it to fit, and it's going to be different than you initially think it's going to be. And you have to be prepared for that. And I think that resilience is easy to say. It's hard to teach. So that's why they need a coach like you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Hailey, I really thank you for coming on the interview today and talking to us about your experience. It's tremendous. The service that you provide for other entrepreneurs that are scared to get into marketing and get their ideas out there, I think that's tremendous. So thank you for telling us about your expertise. It was great.
Thank you.
And I
enjoyed interviewing you as well on the Health Coach Nation podcast today.
Yeah, that was great. Talk about PR, talk about marketing, because you just got to be in front of people. Got to be in front of the right people. So
yeah,
that's important to remember. And I look forward to future interactions. There's a ton of synergy in what we both do, and we can serve people at a bigger level. So the collaboration, the synergy is very important. So
absolutely.
Thank you again. And to all you listeners out there for discovering another story about a genius entrepreneur is important to inspire you to think about your expertise in a different way. You can create a business out of what your expertise is. You can have a life of your passion. Take some steps, but you can get there. So I hope you are inspired. And if you are inspired, please reach out. ShelbyJoLong.com is where you can find me, and we will see you next time.